talk to.
I have noticed that most of the guests are mostly white males of 22 episodes.
Yeah,
that you've
let's
had.
get into that.
No,
We live in an era where stand-up comedians are forced to dull out their comedic genius and creativity to satisfy woke culture and please the creeds of political correctness. An era where everyone is offended by even the slightest joke. Where modern comedians buy into this tragic norm so they won't be tagged offensive or canceled. But in such sad times, it is satisfying to see some of the big names of the good old days of stand-up comedy pushing back and blowing hot against this hypocritical practice of political correctness. One such is Jerry Seinfeld, and in recent times he is making it clear that he has had enough of the woke crap.
And I have no interest in gender or race or anything like that, but everyone else is kind of with their little calculating, is this the exact right mix? You know.
Jerry Seinfeld has been around for decades, long enough to notice the decline in the taste and savor of stand-up comedy. Long enough to see how being funny has been replaced with being inclusive and controlled by the dictates of the woke culture army. And on many occasions, he has never missed a chance to call this out and name it for what it is: woke trash. Welcome to this channel, and let's get right into today's video. Jerry Seinfeld proved to everyone that not all big stars in the entertainment industry buy into the restrictive media tool used by Hollywood to censor and control what people are allowed to hear and say. The woke culture now uses the machinery of progressive culture to control and dictate what we watch, and what we laugh at is no longer safe too. Comedians now try to avoid the risk of being labeled bigots and offenders by one community of woke soldiers or another. If it's not the LGBT plus crew calling you a bigot, it's another crew calling you a racist or a homophobe. But it seems Jerry Seinfeld isn't concerned or fazed by this new media machinery. He was quoted saying, "There is a creepy PC thing that really bothers me. Progressive culture is a culture where we are not allowed to talk about gay people, the trans community, lesbians, race, or even our diversity as a people. And talking about these people can put you in the spotlight as a major offender. Even for a stand-up comedy show where people are supposed to unwind and make fun of each other in the spirit of unity. Comedy shows are where you go to be vulnerable. You don't go crying if someone pokes a joke at you. No. Back then it was okay to be vulnerable to each other. Now everyone is so offended and sensitive. This is indeed creepy because only those who feel in control hate to be criticized. We are supposed to be a democratic nation, the land of the free, and I don't know what gives these people the idea that they can control and censor what everyone else does or hears with their free time. Comedians are supposed to be able to push boundaries and talk about the most sensitive issues in such a way that it is hilarious to the public, but still passes across a message. The dictatorial approach of the woke culture army deserved to be pushed against. They desire to put everything under their control, from the government policies to the education system to Hollywood to the media. And now even stand-up comedy needs to be censored to please them. Jerry Seinfeld also pointed out how difficult it is to make a joke nowadays. A good joke could earn you the name of a bigot, a racist, a sexist, or a homophobe these days. Seinfeld added a warning recently, not to do stand-up in colleges, as colleges are extremely woke. The so-called progressive culture has eaten so deep that everyone is so sensitive the young people can't even take a joke anymore. Chris Rock, Larry King, and other big comedians have now refused to do any shows in colleges, as the level of woke intensity is more than they can cope with. Due to the risks involved with making jokes nowadays, comedians have to stick to watered-down and distasteful safe jokes. Where is the freedom of speech that America is known for? The woke culture of silence is going to create a whole new era and generation of bottled-down opinions, filled with a sensitive and easily triggered population. We should be willing to stand for our rights to free speech, no matter the backlash and threats of getting canceled. Our founding fathers didn't go through wars for us to lose our freedom of expression to a bunch of people with rainbow flags and colored hair. That is why, despite the attacks and trolling Jerry Seinfeld has had to deal with, he is still very ready to call out woke trash when he needs to. An example is when he made a joke about a gay French king.
The people in your life, they're so important, aren't they? Yeah. They don't seem very important. Not the way you scroll through their names on your contact list like a gay French king.
He was attacked and called a bigot by the gay community. Funny enough, this joke was first told far back in 2001 and then retold in 2021, but the era then was far more receptive and willing to accept jokes for what they were, jokes. But the gay community and supportive media of today seem to be suddenly offended by any joke or remark made about the untouchable woke community. Some even went as far as describing him as stuck in time. An example was the Netflix magazine. He was even dragged by political personalities like Sam Cedar, describing him as an old guy pissed off because the world is changing. The idea that Jerry Seinfeld is old and stuck in the past all because he made a joke is very sad. These people take every joke or criticism as a mortal attack and believe that they are untouchable and shouldn't be addressed at all. Pathetic. This suffocating approach by the woke army is descriptive of their agenda to rule without question. Their opinions are forced down our throats, and we are not allowed to kick back or question them in any way. Even the news media are not allowed to do their jobs. Political satire, which is deliberately created to ridicule while passing across important information, is being censored and monitored by these PCs. The New York Times Magazine has come under fire a lot of times by these same set of people. This era of gender confusion and truth censorship has seen a rise in modern comedians taking the safe part to bend to the wills of these people. Humor is slowly losing its original purpose, but few people are still standing up for what is right. Jerry Seinfeld is a prime example of someone ready to lose a lot to save his craft and the values of our country. He recently turned down $100 million for a reboot of a classic show. This was going to be a woke, watered-down version of what his comedic craft is supposed to be, and I'm glad he is not having any of that. We see it today in Hollywood. The big names and companies in the industry have deviated from actual good stories to simply LGBT plus inclusive stories. It doesn't matter if it's a washed-up movie with zero creativity. As long as a certain group of people gives it the okay signal, it's good to go. For someone who, for decades, has made people laugh, one can only wonder what Seinfeld thinks of the transition and decline of our freedom of speech as a people. And this downward trajectory as a country is evident in so many areas of our life. How marriage has become a pointless arrangement with a 70% chance of ending in divorce. The likelihood of separation in marriage is so high that one would wonder why people get married. This country used to be a haven for kids from all over the world. Refugees and immigrants looked forward to America for safety. But now we have to deal with widespread gender dysphoria pervading the country. How can we not see that certain education and misinformation by these people are making our kids and college students radical and drawn to this woke cult? In one decade, kids all of a sudden need gender-affirming surgery, with sex hormones and puberty blockers getting administered to them. With the state government in full support of this charade, and you say we are not allowed to even joke about them when we should be talking about this and calling for action against this madness. This is the time for more stars and people of influence to rise and speak against issues like this that are wrong with society. If you are not subscribed yet, please do so you don't miss any of our future videos. We should realize that the fight against this evil eating deep into our country is not going to be won easily, but we must continue to speak up. We must keep pushing back against their agenda, for the sake of our children, for our coming generations, and our country. Turning a blind eye cannot stop what is coming, and neither will it cause them to stop. They will just keep asking for more control, more censorship, more words in our grammar, more pronouns, and more access to our children. No wonder it was said that evil prevails when good men do nothing. If we fold our hands and keep quiet, we will end up in a far worse situation than we currently are in. I am particularly delighted that Seinfeld is on the side of reason on this issue. His voice will be a reminder to other big names in the industry of what it means to recognize and call for sanity. And we, as citizens, must not be cowed into refusing to express our opinions on issues that we do not agree with. Live and let live God bless America. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you in the next video.